Can't call him alcoholic. You hear these wonderful introductions in AA. It reminds me of a story I heard when I was new. It's about this guy who dies, and at his funeral, widow and son are sitting on the front pew of the church. And the preacher gets up and he do the eulogy, and he talks for 15 minutes about what a wonderful husband this man was, 15 minutes about what a great father this man was, 15 minutes about what an upstanding citizen this man was. Finally, the widow gets this really concerned look on her face, leans over to her son and says, "Hey, Junior, go up there and look in that box and see if that's your daddy." It is nice to have people say nice things about you, but the truth of the matter is, I am what you are what I am, right? And this is a fellowship of equals. Don Cassini used to say, we ain't got no big shots in here. One shot, we're all shot, right? And so now we've come to step 10, and obviously what has prepared us to be here are steps 1 through 9. Have you ever heard this one? Because I've heard this many times. New people say, or I hear people say, I tell my sponsees immediately when as soon as they ask me to sponsor them, they need to start practicing the 10th step and creating wreckage. How on earth can I put into practice the 10th step without the first 9? How is that possible? I want to share something with you. As a sponsor, when they are new, I am their 10th step. That's why I have them call me every day and tell me what happened today. And I do that with new people. But to tell somebody to put into practice the spirit of the 10th step, it's like asking somebody to do calculus when they can't add or subtract. Does that make sense to you? Well, I hear that a lot, right? But I don't have no opinion about it. Ain't that right, Bob? I have no opinion. At the end of the 9th step, it says something. After the 9th step promises, it said, are these extravagant promises we think not they're being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly? They will always materialize, and there's a caveat, if we work for them. In other words, if we've, to the best of our ability, applied the steps that have come before. That's in itself, a really cool promise, isn't it? Always. Sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but always. Then it says, this thought, what thought? Obviously the one that just came before. What a message of hope. This thought brings me to step 10, because step 10 is going to ask me to start to put into practice the first 9 on a daily basis, okay? Now, I spoke earlier about getting a phone call at work, not reacting well, then calling the person back. Bill Wilson would call that spot check inventory. Okay? So we're embarking, as it says in the book, this is a lifelong journey. And it's only taken in 24-hour increments. Just 24-hour increments. That's it, that's all. I don't have to do everything forever. I don't know about anybody else, but that's the way I used to think. Well, I can't do that forever, right? You get that. Can you do it today? I was in treatment, and we had a counselor who was one of these 15, that was back in the good old days when we worked at those places. And this guy was an absolute a warrior in Southwest Ohio. And I did not know that at the time, but I found that out later. And he's retired and living in Florida now, and he's 40-some years sober. But at that time, he was 15 years sober when I was there. And he said to me in front of the entire group, Kent, can you never drink again? And I said, absolutely not. Absolutely not. At some point, it'll happen again. I've had periods of sobriety where I got away from drinking for a short time with me because I'm chronic, usually a week or so. But I always drink again. Then he said to me, could you not drink today? Just today. Well, I figured my chances was pretty good at that because they don't serve liquor at treatment. At least not the one I went to. But I got what he said. I said, yeah. I said, today? Yeah, I could do a day. And he looked at me and he smiled and he said, you halfway home. Because Kent, that's all we do with anything. We just do it one day at a time. And that made an indelible impression on me because the way that I think was not in line with anything for one day. The book goes on, and I'm not going to stand up here and read the whole thing, but there's a couple of things I want to read. This thought brings us to step 10, which suggests we continue. It's another thing. How can you continue to do something that you haven't done? That's another thing with this. I start them with that. How can continue means continue, right? That means I've already done it or am doing it, okay? Continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along. We vigorously commence this way of living as we cleaned up the past. So it tells me when I am to begin applying the 10th step to my life. As we what? Cleaned up the past. So when I start into the amends process, I now begin to apply the 10th step as written to my life. Is that making sense? Okay. So it tells me when that is to be done. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. Alcoholism is progressive. So is recovery from alcoholism. It is progressive, okay? So each day as I apply, I learn, I grow. Many times from my mistakes, but I learn and grow. Recovery is progressive. For me to stand here and say, because I hear this all the time, I've been here 40 years and I'm just as close to a drink as that new man. I feel sorry for you if you are. Because when I came in here, I fought booze on a daily basis. I used to sit outside meetings in my car vibrating. I wanted to drink so bad. How could I have lasted like that for 40 years? Not an alcoholic of my type. So we're growing understanding and effectiveness. This is not an overnight matter. It should continue for our lifetime, right? One day at a time, right? It's not an overnight matter, okay? Continue, again, continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. 4 stuff. When these crop up, not if these crop up. When these crop up, what do? Okay. We ask God at once to remove them. Okay, 6 and 7. Okay. We discuss them with someone immediately, 5, and make amends quickly if we have harmed anyone, 8 and 9. There you go. There you go. So the first 9 steps have prepared me, right, to now live daily this new way of life and apply these principles. I was sober, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months. and I went to the gas station and got some gas, and I paid, and the girl gave me $5 too much. Now, prior to the application of these steps, my reaction to that is, oops, caught you slipping, right? Pocket that fin, justify it as saying they charge too much for gas anyway, and off I go, right? She gave it to me. I got as far as the door and I stopped. And I turned around and I said, you gave me too much money. You should have seen the look on her face. I said, your drawer is going to be $5 off at the end of the night and you're going to be in trouble. Here's the $5. Almost automatically, something was starting to happen. Something was starting to happen. I had an aunt who one day said to me, "We got to do in this AA thing, Kenny." And I said, well, we try to, be honest, be helpful to others, take a look at where we're to blame in situations, pray. She looked at me and she said, She said, I do that every day, right? Sometimes I got to remember that we do not have a monopoly on God or this way of life. Sometimes I need to remember that spiritually principled living did not start in Akron in 1935, that those principles are ancient, and there are people who live like that each and every day out there. You ever hear this? Boy, them earth people sure could use what we got. Where do you think we got it? Read your AA history. More non-alcoholics contributed to the founding of Alcoholics Anonymous and the program of recovery as we know it today than alcoholics did. The spot check inventory, as I go through today, okay, there's a nightly review that's a part of step 11, and that's Cindy's step. I ain't going there, okay? That's not the 10th step. I'm trying to find the words to explain this. There's something that happened to my spirit. I start to wake up and I start to see you. I start to become, and Bob talked about it, as self is reduced, I start to be able to see you. And it's really hard for me sometimes to put into words, but I start to become aware of the people around me. And it's directly as a result of what the first 9 steps are doing. We talked about it in step 4. What are we doing? We're removing those things that are blocking us from this grace, this sunlight of the Spirit. And so I start to be able to access a little bit of that grace, and I start to be able to see you. I start to be able to see how my words and my actions are affecting you. There was a time, absolutely not. I never did anything for another human being that didn't have a string attached to it before I came here. And this is not something I'm going to stand up here and be proud of. But if I gave my mom an expensive present at Christmas time, it was so I could hear her tell everybody what a good son I am. Look what Kenny did. Ain't got nothing to do with her. She's not even a part of the equation. Everything I did prior to coming here with you guys was based on self. But now things are happening. I start to see stuff. I start to become aware of what I'm doing. And here's the cool thing. it's starting to bother me. But people come in here and say, oh, I'm getting a conscience. Every human being has a conscience. I just ignored mine. Or made some kind of rationalization, right, to justify what I was doing. Every human being has a conscience. Well, I suppose there's some that don't, but they got most of them locked up. But I'm starting to become aware. And it was such a cool feeling. I was living with my mom and dad, and my mom was very sick. And I'm doing a spot check inventory. I was working nights. I got up. My dad was getting ready to go to work. He worked at General Motors. And I was getting ready to go, and I'm like, what have you done for your mom? Right? How are you treating her? How are you talking to her? You know, what happened yesterday? You know, my mind is starting to be, to start to see what I can do for others. I'm gonna tell you what I did. I walked in there and my mom was propped up. She had this chair that moved all over the place. And she was propped up looking at TV, and I walked in there and I said, "Hi, Mom, how was your day?" You should have seen the look on my mother's face. I hadn't said that to my mother since I was 8 years old. All I ever said to my mother was, "Give me this, give me that, I need this, I need that." And you're wrong. And she was like, "What's getting into you?" And I said, "I don't know, I'm just doing what they tell me to do." See, because I don't have to understand how it works. I just have to have enough faith to take the action, whether I believe it or not. I told my first sponsor many occasions, I'll do it, but the only reason I'm doing it is because I don't have any alternative. I don't believe it'll work. And once I do it, you'll see it doesn't work, right? And we'll discuss it then. And of course, you know, every time it works. And then after a while, you just do it because you know it works. If Bob gives me direction, Bob is giving me direction that I have not cared for in the least. But I haven't questioned it, and I've never not done it. Because I've been doing this long enough to know that God will place in my path everything that I need. I got everything I need. I got a wonderful sponsor. I got a wonderful support group. I got a wonderful home group. I work with really great guys. God has blessed. The excuses are gone. If I don't do it, it's because I didn't do it. It's nobody but me. Bob said it. It's me. Then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. Love and tolerance of others is our code. Love and tolerance of others is our code. How many times do you hear that quoted in a meeting? Love and tolerance of others. There's a difference between tolerance and just tolerating. I can tolerate you in a condescending way, right? Like, yeah, I'll put up with, because I'm spiritual. But the tolerance they're talking about here is an extension of love, isn't it? It's an extension of love. It's an extension of that, what happened in step 4, that paradigm shift, that eyeball to eyeball, from judgment to empathy. Tolerance in here is an entirely different story than arrogantly tolerating. And that's our code. That means that's really important. That's our code. Am I living to that code? Unfortunately, I will tell you a lot of days, no. One of the biggest problems I got is I am really, I would say impatient, but here's an even bigger problem, is my tone of voice. Because irregardless sometime of what I'm intending to convey, my tone of voice drowns it out. Janelle tell me this all the time. My mother used to say it every day. You know, my mother used to say, your mouth gonna get you killed. That's what my mother used to say. But that is something that for the last 30 years, and listening to Bob today, really opened my eyes on a couple things with 6 and 7, especially with 6. Because I keep trying to fix it. And it doesn't go anywhere. And it shows up sometime at work too. I got a great boss, right? And sometimes he'll come in and he'll stick his head in my door and he'll say, you all right? No, man, I'm cool. He said, I'm just listening to the tone of your voice, right? I need to start being more aware, but I need to put into practice, I need to stop trying to fix it. See, this is what this is bringing to me. All of a sudden, like I start seeing you. At one time, I was the paint coordinator for the Econoline vans worldwide. And that plant has the biggest paint shop in all of Ford, because that's the biggest vehicles that we made commercially. And so I had like 300 people in the paint shop. And in the morning, I used to come out and I used to walk around, and I was MPS at that time, which means I was between a superintendent and a supervisor. I actually oversaw the supervisor, but I answered to a superintendent. And I would walk around and I would look everybody in the eye and say, good morning. Now, stay with me for a minute. I saw red eyes. I saw black eyes. I saw teary eyes. Is there something the matter that I can help you with? Lady said to me one day, dog I had since I was a kid died yesterday. I don't have any children. I don't know what to do. I said, go home. She said, I don't have any more vacation or personal time. I said, I will take care of it. Go home. You need something, call me. See, I start to wake up, stop walking through the world like, Bob, this is one of my favorite Bob sayings. Bob says to me, this is when he first started sponsoring me and I moved to Vegas. And I was talking about some stuff going on at work, and he said to me, you know those shadows you see out of the corner of your eye, Kent? I said, yeah, what are those? He said, those are people. I just, what? I have always been blessed with great sponsorship. And Bob don't holler like Philly. Philly used to holler, but at that time I needed hollering. Bob says it softly, but it's just as deadly. So those are people. Because sometimes I can't see you, right? So this 1 through 9 is as I'm in my day. I need to be aware of what's going on. I need to be awake. But I got a lot of tools that I got in 1 through 9. I got all these prayers, right? I've got actions to take, right? I got a whole new, I'm looking at life now from an entirely different angle because I got a different course now. See, all of this is starting to come into play on a daily basis. Sometimes not real good, right? But I stay at it. A persistent and consistent effort. God does not expect me to do things I ain't capable of. But I got to do my part. And sometimes I fall short. A lot of times I fall short, to be honest. But I stay at it. I stay at it because I love the life that it gives. Was somewhere in the 12 and 12, and Wilson said, at first we do it because we must, then we do it because we know we ought to, right? But ultimately we do it because we love the life that it brings. And man, I love the life that it brings, even though I show up in it every single day. There's something here at the bottom of 84, and I always have loved this. For by this time, and we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol. When did that go away? Right? Like I'm in this new deal. I got 1 through 9. I'm making my amends. I'm now starting to apply 1 through 9 and 10 on a daily basis. I'm spot checking through the day. I'm starting to see other people. I'm driving down Perkins Avenue. I'm 9 months sober, and I come to a red light, and I got a lot of stuff going on in my life. I don't know about y'all, but I didn't come here from Sunday school. I'm on report and probation. My mother's dying of cancer. I owe tens of thousands of dollars. I'm still in trouble at work. Right? And I'm sitting at this light, and I realize something. Dude, I ain't thought about a drink in a couple months. Not once. Not once. I am chronic. I am chronic. I come here with a liver distended 7. I am chronic. And I sat at that light and I said, thank you, God. And I want to share something with you, and it's not everybody's experience in here. Dr. Bob fought that deal for a lot of years. I haven't had it since. I have had many other thoughts that I would not like to share with you. But the thought of a drink has not crossed my mind. My first sponsor told me something, and I've tried to do it to the best of my ability. He looked at me and he said, you are not the potential, you are the actual. He said, Kent, I want you to bury yourself knee deep. He said, nah, scratch that. I want you to bury yourself shoulder deep in this thing called AA so you can't teeter and fall. And I've been shoulder deep in here ever since. I don't care how many mistakes I've made. I don't care how many stupid things I've said and done. I have never gotten away from you. I have never not had a home group. I have never not sponsored people. I have never not had commitments. No matter what kind of chaos is going on in my life, the one thing that has been constant is you and what you have given me here. That has been the constant. And it has brought me through things that I believe at one time would have destroyed me. For by this time, sanity will have returned. Now, step 2, I did yesterday, right? Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Didn't say step 2, came to believe and I was restored to sanity. Didn't say that. Step 10, after taking the actions as outlined in the book to the best of my ability, it says here, for by this time, step 10, sanity will have returned. I'm halfway through my amends. Do you see what's happening? All of the causes and conditions are being addressed, right? Self-reduction is taking place, right? Grace is beginning to seep, and some sunlight is starting to seep into my life. I'm starting to feel better, right? Sanity has returned. I do not see a drink as an answer. Don't mean I can't take one, but I don't see it when I make a list of things, possible actions to take in when things get difficult. A drink's not on there. For by this time, sanity will have returned. And I don't have to do it perfect. I just have to keep trying. Persistent and consistent effort. Talks about being in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. I love the position of neutrality. I love the position of neutrality. I want to be in that position of neutrality at all times. I don't want to judge. I don't want to blame. I want to help. My first sponsor used to say, the only thing that you ever need to say to someone is, how may I assist you? How may I assist you? Somebody comes to Alcoholics Anonymous, don't know if they belong, right? I don't want to do this, I don't want to, it's okay. How may I assist you? What can I do for you? How may I assist you? I carry that with me every day. A position of neutrality. I'm not here to argue. The beauty of the steps and the traditions and the concepts are that's where I end up. Is I end up in this place where I'm not driven by judgments and opinions and outside issues. I'm in this position of neutrality. I'm safe and protected. How may I assist you? I don't walk around carrying all these burdens. One of the things that I did with my sponsees when it started in COVID was we talked about the stuff that we allow into our ear hole and therefore into our head. What am I focusing on? What am I, right? All this crazy news that's going on, right? So I went online and I found this thing. It's called Good News. And they put it online every day. Because I've always maintained this. My first sponsor told me, you crazy enough. I don't want you watching the news. I don't want you reading the newspaper. He said, you are allowed to read two things in the newspaper. That's the sports page and the funny pages. The rest of it, I want you to throw away. I want you to stop polluting your head with all this nonsense that you got opinions about, yet you know nothing about any of it. And this is the stuff that drives you and makes you sick. And it's why you're so negative. And I said, okay. So I found this Good News. And every morning, I got a sponsee thread. I put an article from Good News. Start your day with this. This is what, see, because when the news come on, you got 59 minutes of mayhem, problems, all right. Ever notice this? In the last minute of the hour. And now, we'll take a look at these people from Habitat for Humanity, which built a house for this family. Everybody's out there, they're cheering. All right, back to the news. Why do we take 4 or 5 or 10 negative things and make that what people digest all day, when there are millions of people out there doing things out of love for one another, and we never get to see it? And they'll tell you, oh, well, people don't really want to see that. Did they ask you that? They didn't ask me. They asked you that? Promoting fear and division. So I send my people some good news every morning. Somebody doing something for somebody. Let this, when you finish your quiet time and you meditate, take a look at this. Let's see what we can do today to add to this. So I'm operating from an entirely different angle now. I have a primary purpose. And I don't want it to just be words. I want to help. And this goes everywhere in my life. This is not compartmentalized. This ongoing spot check inventorying throughout the day. How about at home? I had 2 sponsees, both sober, double digits anyway, say to me last week, both of them said the exact same words. Well, I seem to be able to do pretty good everywhere except home. That seems to be the only place that I have problems. Right? People say, well, it's hardest to do this at home. It is not. It's just a place you don't want to do it. Until we get honest about that, we can't make no progress. You can go to an AA meeting, grab somebody who you ain't never seen in your life, and literally unfold your whole life and everything you got to offer to them, and then go home. Walk through the house and not say a word to nobody. See, I don't grade my own paper. Janelle ain't here, but she could tell y'all where I stay in, right? And a lot of days it ain't good. I don't do the stuff I need to do. I got tons of work to do. But I could tell you this, I know from personal experience, if I continue to consistently and persistently do this, every area of my life benefits from it. I got to stay at it. After that, there's a warning. It is easy. Them three words. It is easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. Laurels are past actions that we've taken, right? But alcoholism is a subtle foe, ain't it? Ooh, it's so quiet. Just whispers to you, don't it? You don't need to do that. She had that coming. It's just, dude, it's so. We are not cured of alcoholism. What we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. How do I establish and grow spiritually? Through work and self-sacrifice for others. You notice at the end, when it stopped giving you those little directions in step 10, it said, and we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we could help, which is obviously step 12 stuff. But that is the golden thread that is woven through this entire book. From the very beginning of this book to the very end. Help others. That is the answer. Get out of it. Bob said it standing up here a while ago. Help others. That's how I get me off of me. Help others. So there's a warning, right? One of many in the book that tells me when I will get into trouble, because it is easy. One of the things that I listen for when I hear people share is 3 words. I used to. I used to belong to that group. I used to sponsor people in AA. I used to go to the detox. I used to do a book study over at the halfway house. I always ask the same question. Are you less alcoholic now than you were then? That is the question that I ask. And it is usually met with a dropped head and silence. Are you less alcoholic now than you were then? I watch people give this back one thing at a time. Give back your service commitment. Give back your home group. Stop helping people. They got pajamas at the local detox that'll fit any length of sobriety. Whenever an old timer got drunk in Cleveland, Kenny used to call me. Bob knew Kenny Bombalecki. Kenny would call me and say, go up to Rosary Hall and see, John Doe. And I'm like, Kenny, that's an hour from here. I don't know John Doe. Kenny would say, you heard what I said, go see him. Click. So I get off work, I go see John Doe. John Doe, 42 years, in pajamas. I went into this one guy's room and he was trying to eat Jell-O and he was shaking so bad, he couldn't. Okay. So I took the Jell-O and I fed him. And I said, what happened, old timer? And he looked at me and he said, the same thing that I've seen happen to other people and it happened to me, but I had gotten so detached that I didn't see it. I stopped doing everything. And that's what he said. He said, I stopped doing everything. I said, even praying? He said, yep, even praying. There was a guy who was one of Dr. Bob's sponsors. He was a great speaker, as good as I've ever heard, and I heard a lot of them. and he was a dentist. And he lived along the lake outside of Cleveland. And he stopped everything. And he went to the liquor store when he left his dental office on a Friday, bought a case of Old Granddad. And when they found him early the next week in DT's, he had torn with his hands the muscles in his arm off from the bone. Dr. Bob was his sponsor. He was a great speaker. If I called his name, and I'm not going to, Bob would know who he was. There's no graduation, diploma, top rung of the ladder, or certificate in Alcoholics Anonymous. All we really have is a daily reprieve contingent upon the maintenance of our spiritual condition. I got this day. What I tell the people I sponsor is just take the square on the calendar, right? And put in there, trust God, clean house, help others, and go get it. And go get it. Go do it. I've never done something for somebody else and regretted it. Have you ever noticed that? Even if I don't want to do it, right? Oh, Lord, it's Monday night. I got the county jail meeting, right? And I'm dragging. Come home like this. Right? You know, it happens every time. It happens every time. But I go, even regardless of what this says, because of two things. Number one, I know it's easy to let up. And number two, I had a sponsor that trained my feet to move against my head. It's not what I know, it is what I do. So yes, it is easy to let up on this thing. And a lot of times you see it happening. People get married, people have kids, people, and okay, like your life, you get a big life. The life God has for you, God got a big life for you. You're gonna be busy. You're gonna go back to school, right? Your kids you're gonna coach the ball team, all that, right? What made it possible? Wasn't for y'all, I wouldn't have had none of that. But alcoholism don't care. It'll lay in the weeds very, very patiently. Right? So one of the things I do with my guys is I'll talk to them constantly as their life starts to open up, right? Are you being consistent with all of your commitments, right? Are you at your home group every week? How many sponsees you got, right? Because a lot of those things happened in my life, but as I told you before, I stayed consistent. Sometimes I had to change what I did. If, like, I had a commitment on one day, I would change to another, right? But I stayed consistently doing those things. I gave up the county jail meeting when I went back to school, but I picked up a detox commitment, right? Because I had school on Mondays, right? So you do, I just replace it with something else, but I maintain all those things the way that I was taught. Those are the things that have worked for me. So inventory on a daily basis, this is your spot check. This is your step 10. Step 10 is not at night. By the time night comes, I've done a whole lot of damage. Right? I said to my first sponsor, I'm getting tired of making amends. And he said, quit being a jackass and work steps. How do you stop, right? Stop doing what causes you to make the amends, right? And when you make them, clean them up now, right? So that they don't fester. And so that I have made that, my daily priority. Still fall short, right? When I do my retire at night, I catch stuff, but that's what the purpose of that is, right? Because I want to rest well. I want to sleep good. I want to awaken with no residual, unresolved issues from the day before, because that throws a shadow over my spirit and has a tendency to move me in the wrong direction. When I meditate, right, I want to be able to be still and be I'm not going to get into your steps, honey, but you know, when people start, I can only sit like for a couple minutes. This is after years. Why? Because you got all this stuff going on up here. And how I deal with that is it starts with step 10. Let's start cleaning it up when it happens. Let's start dealing with it right here, right now. Let's stay present. The ability to be present, to not be 2 weeks from now, not be 2 weeks ago, which is how I lived my entire life before I got here. To actually be able to enjoy the moment, to enjoy your company, to enjoy what I'm eating, to enjoy what I'm seeing. And it took some years into recovery for me to start to be able to really do that, right? To be present and not have my head was always like this fast forward movie, right? Just, right? And as time goes on, then the movie starts slowing down. Right? I was talking to my sponsees about the difference. I played ball, the difference between high school ball and college ball. When you get to college, the game is way faster. It is way faster. And as you continue to practice, you become acclimated to what's going on. You start to learn how to handle, and then it starts to slow down. The game starts to slow down. You start to be, because you be like, I wonder what's getting ready to happen. Should I be over here? Should I be over here? You know, you're all over the place. Now, all of a sudden, like I see what's happening in front of me. Okay, I know what they're getting ready to do. I'm gonna check dude over here, right? And it's just the game slows down. And it's kind of like that in life for me, right? The game slows down. I can start to see you. I can start to be aware of how may I help you? How may I assist you? What can I do for you? Instead of this constant thought of how everything affects me, making everything about me, which has been the tone and tenor of my life. I want to keep getting better. I got a hunger for that. Bob talked about it earlier. I want to be what I was put here to be. I wasn't put here for me. It's not the reason I'm here. My primary purpose is to be a maximum service to God and the people around me. And sometimes I am not that. But I'll say this, because recovery is progressive. The days that I'm not seem to get a little further apart. And that is the progression of recovery in my life. Right? Step 10, inventory like at work. Like I told you, the first thing I do every day, like that's the spot check, is just take a quick look at the spreadsheet, see where everything is at. And I do that on a daily, right? And then you got your nightly, right? And then some people like to do inventories periodically. I never, ever criticize people for doing things that make them feel better, right? And make them better people. I don't care how you do it, right? Just do it and make sure you're doing your daily, right? But I never criticize people for doing stuff that make them feel better. Because I started feeling really, really good. Really, really good. And I had sponsors that drove me and pushed me and challenged me to be better and do better. And Bob still does that today. People go, you ever hear this? He's on a pink cloud. You ever hear that? He's on a pink cloud, right? Then somebody in the meeting will go, oh, that's going to end. Why on earth would we tell somebody who came in here in absolute despair, didn't care whether they lived or died, start feeling good, hey, that ain't going to last? Why would you tell somebody that? And let me share some more with you. Who said the pink cloud's got to end? Who said that? In God's world, the pink cloud ain't ever got to end. I'm the one who ends it by getting in the way. If God wants me to be happy, joyous, and free, only reason I'm not is because of me, because he's given me everything that I need to do that. So Pete Cloud don't ever have to eat. Never have to eat. And don't say that in front of somebody if I'm there. Because that is one thing. Why on earth you would say that to somebody whose life is starting to get better? Hard enough to get them to stop telling themselves that, isn't it? What a wonderful, wonderful way of life, right? So now, got 1 through 9, got him in action on a daily basis as I begin my amends, right? I'm cleaning up. The causes and conditions are being addressed. I'm starting to access the sunlight of the Spirit, right? And that'll take us to step 11. God bless. Thank you.